my name is Caitlin Arcand, and I am the marketing manager for the ISA. I read a lot. I read just as much as I watch TV and watch movies and stuff. And for reading, I love like super intense thrillers, horror, like really scary stuff. But I cannot watch it on TV. And then when I watch TV, I only want comedy. Like it has to be super ridiculous, stupid comedy. And then obviously I also really like reality TV because sometimes that is comedy. So I find me watching like comfort shows of like ridiculous reality TV a lot. But some of my favorites I've watched, I would say, I really loved Search Party. That kind of combined the like thriller comedy for me. I loved Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Anything Rachel Bloom does is like my favorite. And I loved that it was a musical. That was really awesome. And then my favorite movie that everyone makes fun of me for is Mamma Mia, because you can't be sad while you're watching Mamma Mia. Of course I've seen it on the stage. I have seen it on the stage. I have seen it. I live on the beach and they do like a movie night and they played it on the big screen. So of course I like dragged my fiance over there. I'm like, we're watching Mamma Mia on the beach. I've seen Drag Mamma Mia. I have seen all the Mamma Mias. So I came from theater. I did theater from the time I was 10. And then I started doing it professionally. And then I just started getting like, I was kind of over it. And a lot of the pressures of it, and just like the constant criticisms, and it's a lot to do theater professionally, and to have a lot of different elements there on you all the time. Like everything has to be perfect in a theater production. And I had performed at a show at Don't Tell Mama in New York. I had done like a cabaret show there, and I saw a flyer for a stand-up comedy class, and I was like, I think do that instead. And my mom was like, no, you're not doing that. She's like, you're not funny, you're gonna do that. So I was like, no, I think I want to do that instead. So I didn't end up taking that stand-up class, but I ended up being cast in a show in Boston that was like mostly an improv show. And when I got cast in that show, a bunch of the other cast members were stand-up comedians, and they were like, you should do stand-up. So that's how I got into stand-up, from doing that show, from doing theater. And that's where I am now. I knew I wanted to work in entertainment. Like I was 100% like, this is what I wanted to do. From when I started theater, like that's what I wanted to do. And I actually ended up gearing more towards like the music industry, that I wanted to work in the music industry. And on career day at high school, they were like, entertainment is not a real career. So they sent me to an insurance firm. I don't know what they thought I was going to be. Like I was going to find my calling in insurance there or something. But I left there and I was like, obviously I'm not working in insurance. So it's funny that when I was looking at colleges, I actually went to New York Film School to look, and I decided, I was like, I don't want to work in film, actually. Like I'd much rather work in the music industry. I'm not going to work in film. So I ended up going to school for music. I lasted like 6 months and I was like, I hate this. And then I ended up studying psychology at Harvard, which is super random. That's like bizarre. Like, why was I there? So while I was actually doing my undergrad in psychology, I ended up being a guest as a comedian on a show that was produced by Dirty Water Media in Nesson, which are like local New England production companies. And when I was a guest on the show, I had asked the producer, I was like, hey, do you ever need help? Like, can I help with anything here? Like, I'm very interested in this. And he was like, sure, we need an assistant producer. Do you want to do that? And I was like, okay. So I took that role. That producer is now one of my best friends in the entire world. And we produced a ton of stuff together since. So I did that, and then I ended up getting hired by Harvard Athletics, where I worked as a producer and a timeout coordinator for shoots for ESPN in the Ivy League network, filming sports. One day, my first director shoot was of water polo. I don't know how to play water polo. I know nothing about water polo, but the director called out, and they were just like, Caitlin, can you direct water polo? So I just played with the switchboard. Hopefully it came out correct. And then after I graduated from school, I decided, I was like, maybe I'll get a PhD in psychology, like throw a wrench in this thing. And my advisors were like, you don't want to do that. They were like, you want to work in entertainment. Don't go get a PhD. Like if you want to get a PhD, you can come back anytime and do that. Go do something else. So I moved to LA, and then COVID hit like a month after I moved to LA. And I ended up working as an assistant producer for 2 films in LA. And then I got called to work at Netflix back in Boston. So it was kind of ironic that I moved to LA for film and entertainment and then got asked to go back to Boston, where I was from. So I came back here, I worked for Netflix. I had a few offers for other movies after that, but I wasn't really, I wanted something more relaxed. Like I didn't want to be on set every day anymore. I wanted to do something different. And 2 days later, I got hired by the ISA. And here I am now. That's the biggest advice I can give to literally anybody that wants, because I started doing like the PR social media type of world when I was 16. So I've always been like on the younger side, and people are always like, how did you do all that? And I was like, literally, I just asked to help. Like that's it. Like I would just show up places, or like as a performer, I would be on projects and I'd be like, hey, can I help with like whatever production stuff's going on or whatever social media stuff's going on? And then I would just end up like, when I was in college, I was a tour guide for like the official Harvard tour. And then one day the person who was like the lead just left. And I was like, hey, I was like, what if I was in charge? And they were like, haha, that's funny. And then I was in charge, which actually got me like a lot of really good connections with like celebrities. And I managed theaters where I worked with like celebrities. And one of my first days like managing a theater there was working with Paul Rudd and Mila Kunis, which was like super cool. So yeah, you really just have to like ask and insert yourself in there and be willing to do whatever is needed. I do many things at the ISA. I wear many hats at the ISA, but mostly I handle all of the social media. So if any of you people out there ever tweet the ISA, I'm who answers you. So I do all the social media. I've taken over all the Instagram accounts. And then I also do all of the emails. So if you get our emails, that's also me. And what I love about it is it's like always something going on. And even though I very much just like my main jobs are social media and emails, but a bunch of times we have other stuff going on where I'm like writing press releases or making pitch decks, or there's always something different going on. And I like that because clearly I have a lot going on and I like to do and jump from a bunch of different things. So I think that's really cool and fun. And I also just love the people here because I always hear like my friends complaining about the people we work with, and not people we work with, people they work with. And I'm always just like, oh, I have nobody to complain about. So I'll just like make something up and be like, oh, you know what? This stinks at work, even though I don't really have any complaints about anybody. So that's really nice to come to work with a bunch of people you like every day. I have many crazy stories because I always somehow get myself in like very strange situations, and it's usually because I voluntarily go into them trying to like get experience or do something like that. So my first producer job that I had talked about, working for Dirty Water Media, we did like a late night show, and at the time I was only the assistant producer. Like I was writing segments for the show. I was making sure all the bookings we had were going well, like all our talent was there. I didn't do anything on camera. Like I was merely just sitting there writing segments. And one day we showed up, our show filmed at 11 p.m. And for some reason, every person we had booked on the show just called out or like wasn't able to come. Like it was just like a cursed series of events that for some reason nobody could come. So the producer, my friend Corey, was like, hey, you're gonna need to do a solo segment tonight. And I was like, I don't have anything. I have nothing prepared. So he's like, just like Google some celebrity drama or something, like see what you can find. So I'm like Googling all my favorite celebrities, seeing like what I can find. And then I saw these blurbs for like weird, strange news. Like there's sites you can go on just to get weird news. And I was like, what if I told like weird news? And he's like, sure, whatever needs to be done so we have a segment. I was like, okay. So I filled like a spreadsheet with like 20 super bizarre, like that some lady got like arrested in Australia over like a hamburger and like it just like the stupidest stuff. And I like filled a spreadsheet with it. And like 10 minutes into the show, I went on and did my solo segment about weird news. And it ended up becoming like, we ended up doing it as a reoccurring segment every single week, that I just sat there and said super bizarre things. And I don't know if nobody fact checked this. I don't think anybody was like, is this real stuff she's saying? Or is this just, did she just make this all up? But I did. I checked my sources. I was a journalism minor. I checked my sources. So I can be like 85% sure that everything I said was factually correct on that show. I luckily, because I do marketing and stuff, I get to see so many of the successes as they come in, and any success is super cool because we're all here, like we're a small company, we're all putting, I feel like at bigger companies, sometimes you don't always see where your efforts are going or what you individually contributed to something. So I think what's really cool about the ISA is that when successes come in, we're all super psyched because we all know that we had like some individual part of this. But my personal favorite ones are any of the ones that there's like too many to name, but I love when people get like writing gig hires from our site and then they start tweeting about it and stuff, and I get to retweet it. It's really fun. And I just think that's really cool because it's a testament to like our connections and our site is working and the outreach we've done and everything. And I just think it's really cool when people sign up for the ISA and maybe they're like, oh, I'll just sign up and I don't know. And then they end up getting hired for a job. And I think that's so cool. So those are usually my favorite ones. And then obviously when people get like options and stuff like that through our site, I love posting about them. So if you have any successes, let us know because I will promote you all over our social media accounts.